Kings chit chat. Grab your popcorn, sit tight, we're ready to roll. In the heart of Sacktown, we're feeding your soul. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star. With the NFL, Adams in the ring. Rhino's got the wisdom, hear the praises we sing. Court in session, it's a royal affair. With the fans all around, feel the passion in the air. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star.
And free agency is officially upon us. What's going on a Monday? King's Court. Hope you had a great weekend. A lot to talk about. We will get to the Kings' moves over the weekend. Minor. We'll talk about the rest of the league. Get your takes. Do me a favor. If you are tuning in for the first time to the King's Court today, thank you. Happy to have you here. Court is in
Order
session.
in the court.
I understand we're going to start hearing about a lot of deals. I've got Shams here. I've got The Athletic there. We can break in to ESPN if anything Kings related or anything big goes down. So if you're going to put something in the chat, just do report unless it's actually confirmed, because I want to make sure that we're being responsible around here. But as you know, it is also a Monday, which means we air grievances. So there's something that's been bugging you, something you need to get off your chest. I will tell you, I'm a little feisty today. I spent the better half of about 5 hours at the DMV, so I am ready to go.
The airing of grievances.
So if you have a grievance, problems with hop in, put them in the chat. You can call the show as well. You can hit the QR code that's in the chat that I will put right now. What's up, BJ? I see you there. And you can also hit the link, right there. You can scan the QR code that's on the screen. So we start off as we usually do on Mondays. I don't know if you guys see this one coming. We've done it the last few Mondays. Motivational Monday from Scott Perry. Never underestimate the synergy which comes from teamwork and relationships. It's a critical element in producing your full potential and maintaining a positive outlook. When one person is down, another can encourage and build them up. When one has exhausted their resources in tackling a troubling problem, another may have just had the answer to resolve it, I'm stumbling on myself, Scott. You're going too deep, man. Or improve things an entire new level. Take time to cultivate your relationships, as they are important in every way. Hey, you know what? I'm taking these things a little bit serious. I like Scott now. I've liked what he's done so far in Sacktown. If you're new to the show, I talked about it last week. I thought what he did last week with the draft, I thought everything was prudent. I liked the picks. I thought the picks fell into the categories that he was looking at. So I'm good with it. He is doing what he needs to do for now. So Scott, you know what? We will keep reading your Motivational Mondays. So free agency is upon us. As I said, a lot of moves have gone down. The latest thing from Shams right now is that Mike Brown's having a second interview with the New York Knicks. Obviously, not really too big of a deal for us, but Mike, you're getting paid a lot of money to just chill right now. Just saying, you're getting paid a ton of money. Mike, your checking account has too much in it every time your deposit hits. All right, let's get to the bigger news. You guys are all asking for it. Keon Ellis, the Kings picked up his option. They picked up his option kind of at the last minute. And by the way, free agency when we talk about free agency, teams can now officially talk to players. Deals cannot be actually done until I believe July 6th. So this is where you're going to start seeing some more stuff. But the Kings picked up the option on Keon. Here's why I'm okay with it. It was a $2.3 million option. What that means is next year he's going to be, I'll read it verbatim for you because there was a couple things you could have done if you're Sacramento. This will be making him an unrestricted free agent in 2026 unless he's extended. There's a date which you can extend him, which is right around the end of this year, the start of next year. So here's what I want to say. With the Kings kind of being in that area where you're not sure where they're building, you know they're going to need some bigger pieces. Undoubtedly, you needed to bring Keon Ellis back. Keon Ellis, no brainer. You need to see what he can do more. Can he continue to improve defensively? I think he will. Offensively, what do you want from him? If you look at the small number of guys that I call universal players here in Sacramento, they can go play in any system in the NBA, any of the other 29 teams. Keon's one of them. So for the money, that makes it a no-brainer. Had you done something different and signed him to more, would I be upset with it? Not necessarily, but I would be worried because you have so many holes to fill on this team. Here's what you do now. You have Keon Ellis, which if you took the entire Kings roster and you took it to a CPA and you said, list the contracts under each category or under one of the two categories, asset or liability, Keon Ellis's contract would definitely go under the asset column. So if you're looking to get a little bit better, if you're looking to maybe trade a guy, and I am not saying trade Keon Ellis, I would like Keon Ellis to stay in Sacramento. He's an undrafted guy. He is a perfect example and kind of an outlier of what this CBA is meant to do. It's to find talent, develop it, keep it in your system. But he is desirable, not on his own, but he is desirable to other teams with a bigger trade. So with Scott Perry having this logjam at guard, and we've yet to address the point guard position. Thank you, Peter. There you go. I'm okay. You can swerve. You can kind of change lanes if you feel like you need to get away from Keon. And you know what? I thought Carmichael Dave, we don't usually put a lot of stuff up here. I thought Dave hit the nail on the head. I can't be a hypocrite and sit here and say the Beam Team year, that summer after the Kings lost to the Warriors in Game 7, I can't be a hypocrite and say, well, you shouldn't have extended Sabonis. You should have used that money elsewhere. That's why I'm with Dave. He hits the nail on the head. It's flexibility. And again, it's a move I cannot fault Scott Perry for. I understand both sides of it. If you want to extend him, extend him. But now you have another asset under that column. If a CPA, and if you want to know your contracts that are assets, Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, definitely assets. Devin Carter, yet to be determined. Domantas Sabonis, we could debate that at that number that he's making. Those are your good ones, your bad ones. Any guesses? Zach LaVine? Yes, bad contract. Also, and we'll dig into all this as the show goes along, Isaac Jones, the Kings exercised their team option on him, $1.96 million. Last year of that deal, he earned that full-time deal at the end of last season. He had been a two-way player. I think in Jerry Reynolds, who comes on with us tomorrow, by the way, Jerry Reynolds Tuesdays, both agreed. We agreed that if you're going to have success this year, or you're going to be able to contend for a play-in spot, let's be realistic. Let's not talk playoffs. Let's talk play-in with the Western Conference. That's what the Kings are looking at as we sit today. But if you're going to talk play-in, you're going to probably have to be able to get 7 to 9 minutes rotationally out of Isaac every night. So his development, keeping an eye on him as the summer goes along, is something that I will be doing as well. The Kings offered they made a qualifying offer to Isaiah Crawford, who was a two-way guy last year. I think Isaiah could be really good. He's got an NBA body. He's athletic, but the skills, there needs to be some more development with him. We'll see if anybody matches that. So that's what's going on with the Kings. There's a ton of rumors around Russell Westbrook, Dennis Schroeder, etc. We have discussed those. One point guard now off the market, one that I liked, Colin Sexton. He has been traded out of Utah. Another out of Phoenix that I really liked, he was re-signed today. He was one of those finds. He's one of those guys that they are going to keep developing. We'll talk about him a little bit more as the show goes on. Like I said, you want to call? Get in now. Mac, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
Good. How you doing today, Mac?
I'm okay. I just want to say I really liked the Keon. I think for both parties, I like the picking up the option. I mean, let's be real. Keon showed out for what, a year? I mean, just last year he kind of came to his own. You'd want to see a little bit more, but I mean, he's trending in the right path. I like the thought of letting this, kind of wanting to see, does he have a sophomore slump or whatnot before paying him? And I also think on Keon's side, I think there's a little bit of betting on himself, because, if he has a great year, of course the price is going to go up. So I think this deal, and then also, like you said, you can negotiate, and if Keon's, what his wants are unreasonable, he would be, like you said, he fits in a lot of systems. He would be a great deadline deal to attract picks or whatnot when you are trying to rebuild. So I think this was the right move for the Kings. I think it was a smart move. And not only was it good for the Kings, I think it was right for Keon. I think that was a good move for the player. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Keon didn't really have a option. It wasn't his choice.
But
the team could decide to not pick it up if they had an idea of what he wanted to re-sign at and give him a bump up in pay. Look, I
think if he would have came to the Kings and said, "Hey, I'll take this," or whatever, they could have negotiated. I'm sure behind closed doors there's possibility they at least had a conversation of, do you want to get extended? What would that price be, type thing?
Sure. I'm sure that happened with the agent. Here's what I would say. And as much as I love Keon, I love the story behind Keon Ellis. The Kings aren't exactly contenders right now. The Kings are kind of in that area where it is board up the windows, make sure you can get the house as safe as you can, and hunker down and hope for the best. Hopefully that storm doesn't hit too hard and it passes over you slightly and you make it through this time, which is the Zach LaVine contract.
Right.
And so with the logjam at guard, why not have Keon for another year? And look, I think Keon has proved himself defensively. He made plays on Steph Curry last season that I see all NBA defenders not make. But there's still a lot of question marks about Keon, and because of the log jam at guard, it's really a win-win situation. Keon doesn't pan out, what skin in the game do you have? Not much.
Yeah.
And if he does, you could have a big asset on your hands. And if he's part of this culture, if he is part of what they want to build, which theoretically he's perfect for a Doug Christie led team, then he's going to rise to that level where he shows what he should be worth.
I agree. Hey, and one last thing before I go.
Yeah.
What a setup show Night of Champions was. I'm serious. When the way they teased John Cena kind of turning face again, and CM Punk was having to play heel when they were wrestling. He had to be heel some of that fight, and the Cody Rhodes story where Randy Orton was wrestling face against Cody. You could see the turns are coming. I thought that was great storytelling. Anyway, that's it. And have a great. I know today's not Friday, but I just couldn't wait to tell you.
Yeah, no, you know
So
what? I put it in the lineup. It was the best Saudi show they've had, hands down,
oh my
start to
gosh,
finish.
by far. All the other ones have been a joke, and they've always been like on a Friday. Like,
Mhm.
who's watching at 10 o'clock on a Friday or 1 o'clock East Coast? You know.
Yep.
So you're at work. So anyway,
All right, Mac.
have a great day and take it easy.
You the man. Thanks for kicking us off today, Mac. Good job by him. We are just really scratching the surface of what's going on within the NBA. LeBron James, I don't want to get too much into it. We will talk about it. We're going to be Kings heavy on what direction this team should go. A lot of discussion around the point guard position. I have said I think the most pressure now is on Devin Carter. Can Devin Carter be a point guard? And he's going to have to prove that through Summer League. Let's get to the chat really quick. I want to get into what y'all are thinking. Dennis putting stuff in there. Love you, Solo. Plus minus. Okay, plus minus. We already hit that. Suns decline Ty Washington's option, making him an unrestricted free agent. I like Ty Washington. I don't like him enough to bring him to the Kings and say play point guard. He's just not there yet. He is a high-level G League player. I would say he's probably rated maybe just a hair above Mason Jones. Mace, I love you, bro. But Ty's been doing it for a little bit longer, a little bit more potential with the way he plays the position and what the Kings need. But definitely a name to look at. Any news on Jake? No, not yet. You know, a lot of eyes are looking around to see the big shoes drop. I mean, look at what James Harden got paid. James Harden is now the highest paid sixth man in the NBA. And I know that he starts. I understand he was first team All NBA. But that stock is sliding quickly. So I'm waiting for a couple of the other big ones to go. Jake, I've put it out there a million times up until this point. But Jake LaRavia, if he wants an opportunity to show out, a true opportunity, that is what the Kings can offer him. You have playing time in front of you. You're going to have runway. Coach loves the way you play the game. You really like the coach, as Jake has said in some podcasts and even said in his exit interviews. I think that 5.2 with an option on the second year makes the most sense for both sides because you're giving Jake the perfect defensive system to show what he can do best. So we'll see if the Kings end up being able to come to a deal with him, still keeping an eye on that. Get ready. Keon will be gone in a trade before the end of the season. Very well could be. And maybe that's because other guys, Nick Clifford excels, could be Devin Carter. As we sit today, getting rid of Keon Ellis, unless it was a significant improvement, getting rid of Keon Ellis for anything short of an all-star would be negligent on the Kings' part because of his pay and because of what he offers this offense. Or actually, you know what? Both sides of the ball. You know why I say the offense? Because when you have a guy like Zach LaVine, he is ball heavy. You are looking to get him shots. You've got to get Zach LaVine going in a game. Keon Ellis, there's no obligation to get him going offensively. You don't need to. But if he's open, I believe he ended the season second or third best three-point shooter on the roster, he can knock down a three. If he doesn't touch the ball offensively, okay. Jerry Reynolds has said he wants to see if Keon can become more of a playmaker. And I think that is really where the questions reside. But getting back to having a Keon on the floor with a Zach, what that does is it allows you the opportunity to get Zach going. It allows you the opportunity to maybe try to get Keegan going. And whatever he's doing, Keon on the offensive side of the ball will not affect what he does on the defensive side of the ball. Keon Ellis, Pierre put that in. Mike Brown could bail out. You know what? That's a good question. Could he? I don't know if I'm going to put that up.
That's a great question.
Where would Keon go in the 22 draft? You know, we just did the 22 draft all over again last week with Jerry. I don't know. He would probably be uh, late first round, maybe probably between 20 and 30 would be my guess in that draft. Wonder if Scott Perry, a daily motivational calendar for Christmas might be a good idea. Yes, talk the positives with what we did with Keon Ellis versus the negatives. Yeah, well, I think I've kind of laid them out. You have very little money to play with. In fact, why don't we throw this up on the screen really quick? Basically, the Kings have a lot of holes to fill, and they just don't have a ton of dirt to fill them with. So you're betting on your rookies. That was why it was important that the Kings got back into the first round. They needed to do that. And they did it for a really good price. What likely will end up being 2 second-round picks. So there's what you got right now. You're 18 below the tax. You have a 14.1 million MLE available to you, which there's a lot of rumors going around that might go to a Dennis Schröder. That could go to, we do have some breaking news from Shams. Sources, the Grizzlies extend Jaren Jackson Jr. on a $240 million max deal. Okay, what about Ja? What are we doing with Ja if you're Memphis? Incredible. Got some more news. Restricted free agent Santi Aldama has agreed to a 3-year $52.5. That's a big number. He's important to what they do, but that is a big number for him. All right. Jaren Jackson Jr. got paid. Wow. Still a little murky about what Memphis is planning to do, especially without Taylor Jenkins. I know they hired their interim as the head coach. I just wonder, I mean, Ja was not always happy when the offense wasn't running through him, but it was still a top 7 offense, whether Morant was in or out of the lineup. So obviously you got to build around Jaren Jackson, but they need some shooting. They still needed to. So back to the Kings. That's really what you have to work with. Kind of put this up for you so you can see. So you got to hope Isaac Jones can play some minutes. You've got to, I do believe the first shoe that needs to drop for the Kings is DeMar DeRozan. I don't know that you can trade anyone until you trade DeMar DeRozan first to see if that nets you back a point guard, to see if that gives you a true 4. The problem with the Kings is this, and I hope Scott Perry is looking at this and taking the same approach. I don't know with the selection of Nick Clifford if he is thinking that way. Maybe he is, but the problem with the Kings is the Kings have been playing out of position for about the last season and a half. So if you're Scott Perry, you got to get these guys back into their natural position. So could trading DeMar DeRozan net you that true 3 and D 4 that can move Keegan back to the 3, Zach at the 2? What are you going to do with the 1? Who can be your 1? Then who's going to be your backup 1? Is it going to be Devin Carter? Is it going to be somebody else that you sign? Are you going to try to trade Devin Carter, possibly, with somebody else on the roster? I mean, when I see Yusuf Nurkic go for Colin Sexton, plus there was a pick as well, that's not much to me for some serviceable point guards in this league. So Jerry's talked about it. I've talked about it. I think you've got to be looking for guys that may be on the way up, which is a hard ask. That's already hard to do. But with the Kings and the uncertainty about their situation, the mess of the management here in Sacramento, speaking of the owner, Scott Perry, again, I have been very impressed since draft day. I was impressed by his press conference. I've been impressed with what he's done so far, but you've got to get a lot out of a little, or you've got to take advantage of a bigger deal that might not make the team better in the interim, but it's going to help you build. It's not putting a Band-Aid on this thing. There is no Band-Aid right now available to the Kings that fixes the Kings other than getting Zach LaVine's money off the contract. So what can you do to get everybody back into position and then maybe, just maybe, get some depth? Scott talked about that with his or on his press conference after the first round of the draft. The two teams that were in the NBA Finals both had the best depth in the NBA this year. Let's cut in to NBA TV really quick on Jaren Jackson.
For development, because ultimately you're in the business of winning. Like, trust me, Golden State loves paying Steph Curry. Like you want to pay your superstar caliber players.
Right.
Like, so you're hoping, you're betting on them to develop, because it also means your team's going to stay relevant. You're going to contend. And so the guys understand that now. And I think the players and the front office's ownership, they're much more a partner than they've ever been in our league's history. And so it's good to see that the players do understand their value, which is one reason why you'll see guys sign a 1-year deal or 1-and-1.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Kevin Durant and guys like that do those because they understand how good they are. And they understand that the teams understand how good they are, and they're not.
Okay, so that leads me to my next point. We're going to be Kings heavy. We'll take your questions. I'll keep going through the chat, but I want to get to some other news. Over the weekend, LeBron James picked up his player option for just over $52 million. But Rich Paul spent the weekend at his typewriter drafting a very cryptic letter at best to the Los Angeles Lakers. So now questions are arising. Is LeBron James on the move? Does he want to be on the move? 3 weeks ago, he's talking about ring culture. And now Rich Paul's talking about championships. Well, why would he pick up his option? That doesn't make sense. He has a no trade clause. I think what's notable about this is there's only a handful of teams that could take LeBron James right now, that might realistically be willing to take him. And I think that same handful are teams that LeBron would take too. And I don't put anything into this quote or this video where LeBron over the weekend at dinner is heard saying Savannah wants me to only play 23 years. Like, it's private time. How many times do we? Yeah, my wife doesn't want me to do that. Like, you get what I'm saying? I'm not putting it there, but what I am looking at is what Greg Anthony just said. This is the first time in LeBron James's career that he is not going into the season with an option for the second year. So I do find that really, really interesting. Brian Windhorst was trying to make sense of what this might mean for the Lakers, what it might mean for some of the auxiliary pieces of the Lakers, or even maybe some of the pieces that could be desirable around the league, like in Austin Reeves. Here's what Brian Windhorst had to say over the weekend.
Bud comment now, Brian, feel like the closest he's ever been to almost hypothetically, maybe in a dream world for some teams getting traded?
Maybe. I would just say, like, trust me, I've spent a large part of the last 24 hours trying to figure out LeBron trades, and I don't really see any that are feasible and make a lot of sense. So if that's what he is intending, if this is a drip to get to there, I'm not sure we're going to get there. I'm also not sure what sort of message he's sending Luka Doncic, his teammate, who they're planning on trying to compete. At least they were for a run next year. And like I said, if his message is to the Lakers, improve the roster, he's been saying that for 7 years. So I'm not real sure about the strategy that is being employed here. I guess I will wait and watch and see what the next move is, because I frankly don't think there's much of a next move for LeBron other than show up for training camp in the fall, because I don't think the Lakers are interested in trading him.
And why would they be? Why? You're in no rush to dump salary. I just don't see that being a thing. In fact, Bobby Marks right now is talking about that on Sports
Timelines.
Center.
You have the LeBron entering the last year of his contract, and then you have Luka, who's extension eligible for 222 at the end of August. Remember, this is a Lakers team that has a clear cap ledger after next year. They can go out and sign 2 max guys. So I'm not going out there risking cap space just to appease LeBron James, a player that might not even be on your roster next year. Yes, they need to go out and fortify getting a center, and they need some bench depth here, but I'm not making one of these high-risk moves just to appease LeBron James for one season.
Let's not forget, too, this is a team that finished 3rd in the...
Yeah, I'm with him. I'm completely with him. I think this is really LeBron doing LeBron things. And I'm going to get to this later in grievances, but LeBron wants to be part of the news cycle. This is how you become part of the conversation. I mean, really a public letter that gets released, that's already happening behind the scenes. So this is really stirring the pot to me. Frank Isola kind of put it in those same terms. And again, very limited pool that would be interested in LeBron James. Here was Frank Isola earlier this morning.
The whole thing is just, I tend to think it's more of LeBron just wanting to put some pressure on the Lakers to try to get something done. Because when you start looking at teams where you think that he could realistically go to, where they would make a trade and he would sign off, do I think Golden State would be one? I have no idea if they could do it. I think Cleveland would be one. I think the Knicks would be one. I think Houston, Dallas, and maybe Miami. Those teams where I could realistically see, if there was somehow, some way a trade could be worked out and he would sign off on it. Because remember, that also is part of it. But some of those teams would have no interest in doing something like that, and he would probably have no interest in going to maybe some of those places. But it's a small group of teams.
Yeah.
So there you go. And that's about as much as I want to contribute to the LeBron James conversation until we get to grievances. Progressive, Ellis, Monk, LaRavia, Murray, Isaac would be a nice second unit. Yeah, I think the thing that if I'm Doug Christie, if I'm Scott Perry, and I'm almost certain that Scott Perry is probably in this same line of thinking with me, based off of the moves he's made and the draft picks that he's drafted. He's talked a lot about the 2 teams that were in the finals. And if the Kings are going to be competitive, let me pose this question for you. If we really are, and Scott Perry to a degree has kind of lowered expectations for this team this year. He's kind of said, be patient. It's going to be a process. He hasn't said it in that exact language, but I think that's pretty clear. If you're a Kings fan, if I'm looking at the pieces of this thing, not just from a financial standpoint, but for a long-term, if you're trying to build that program, you're not just trying to put a Band-Aid on the program. What is it going to take to be successful in the Western Conference? Where are the 2-3 teams at where the West is probably going to roll through them? We know Oklahoma City, the West is rolling through OKC for at least the next 5 years. If the Spurs stay on this same timeline that they're on and they get that major piece to go alongside Wemby, it's probably going to involve San Antonio. Some of you might say Houston. I'm not there. I think Houston is not as good with Kevin Durant. I don't think Kevin Durant fits in with Ime Udoka and that culture. When I think about Kevin Durant, I don't think physical. I don't think tough, diving on the floor, etc. Who knows? Maybe it does work. There's red in the Rockets color. Whenever he is in red, white, or blue, he usually plays well. So I could be wrong there. So you think about those top teams and you go to defense. Houston, defense, incredible. In fact, with Houston, I think he could really, Durant, limit Şengün's growth. Might help it. I think he could really hurt that growth, but we'll see. So Houston, defensive minded. Oklahoma City, defensive minded. Although they're kind of that exception where they also offensively and defensively had some first time ever statistics this season, best net rating in the history of the NBA, turnovers versus incredible stuff for them. What I'm saying is almost every team in the West and most of the teams in the East that are contending for championships, with a very, very slight exception for maybe one or two, it's defense first. So again, if I am Scott Perry, I'm looking at how close can I get to having a unit within a rotation or two, not just your first unit, but mixing in some of that second unit where you can switch 1 through 5, because that's what the best teams in the NBA do. They switch 1 through 5 on defense. And with that unit that Progressive put up, Ellis can switch. Ellis can switch 1 through 4 in a pinch. And I'm talking about not starting on a 4. I'm talking about on the switch. If you pick that guy up, LaRavia, he can go 1 through 5. We saw him do it last year. Murray, 1 through 5. Isaac's the wild card. Isaac is the rim protector. He's the freaky athlete. That's why I'm looking at him and Devin so closely for summer camp, or for the NBA Summer League in Vegas. So if I'm Scott Perry, I'm looking at those foundational pieces, knowing that, okay, if we're going to be able to do something, it's going to be on the defensive end. Has to be on the defensive end. Get people in the right positions, and you have a defensive coach to boot. Let the defense create offense. I think the Kings need more. You don't have that unit anymore where it was roll the ball out and we'll just figure it out. We know the reads. Because last year, when you brought DeMar in and Mike Brown was running things, it got way too complicated. Way too complicated. So Doug kind of carries that thing over where it's like, I don't want to teach you a play, but I want to teach you how to play. This group right now on paper, this group needs structure. And so I hope Mike Woodson can come in and bring some of those X's and O's to the table. But defense is where this team has to look first. That's the only, you can't build. I truly believe you cannot build an offensive team that can probably beat Oklahoma City. That could beat Oklahoma. Let me put it this way. That could beat OKC offensively and be able to match them on the defensive end. I just don't see it. I don't. So if you're going to be the Kings, you got to look defense first right now and go from there. Dennis putting in a ton of stuff. The Kings are planning to meet with Malcolm Brogdon. Yeah, he's in that list with Russell Westbrook also in the list. And so that's what I would tell you right there. It's like you're going to a little bit of a Band-Aid, but as long as the Kings get a true point guard, which they have not had in 3 years, I think it will make it's the Kings, to me, it's their only hope to get a true point guard, get guys closer to their regular positions. It's the hope that it's like that's the adjustment that maybe does kick this thing into gear. It might be the jump start that this group needs. Skydog Tristan breaking the Memphis Grizzlies and guard Cam Spencer have agreed to a 2-year, $4.5 million or fully guaranteed contract. There you go. I was hoping that and I get why Phoenix held on to him, but Colin Gillespie, who I was talking about earlier, I think he's really on his way up as a point guard. He played really well at the end of the year last year. Let's see. Yeah. Russ and Monk coming off the bench. No, you would have Russ starting. I think Monk is probably coming off the bench this year. Dorian Finney-Smith, 4-year, 53 with the Rockets. So they are trying to bolster their offense. He just signed. Was he on a short deal with Orlando? No, he got traded to Orlando. That's what it was. That is what it was. And Orlando's a great example of what I was just talking about. They went out and they grabbed the guy that they thought would really be their quote-unquote Aaron Gordon. They were an Aaron Gordon away in their eyes from competing this year. They didn't care the cost. 4 first-round picks, fine. As long as we get that guy in Desmond Bane. Because now they were already a force defensively. They're going to be a monster next year. And Desmond, as long as he can stay healthy, the guy can play some offense too. So a lot of stuff going on. We have not even hit everything in the headlines. All right. I think we're good. Can we hit this really quick as we're talking about point guards? Because I am personally very happy for this guy. How about Sacktown's Davion, well, used to be Sacktown's, Davion Mitchell, getting paid by Miami, 2-year, $24 million contract. He has earned that contract. He played really well in the second half of the season, his last season with the Kings. Actually, go look at the stats. He outplayed De'Aaron Fox in both meetings this last year. So Davion, who seems to be an excellent fit for Miami and the system that they run, system, the key word, system. He came from a college that was a structured system. You know who else did? Keegan Murray. Get him some more structure. But happy for Davion Mitchell. That is a good chunk of money for a guy the Kings really kind of gave away. They gave away. If you were with us Friday, we talked about Ace Bailey ad nauseum. Was not super thrilled with what I was seeing out of the young man. He reported to Utah this weekend. Here were some clips from his introductory press conference.
That you considered not coming to Utah?
No, not at all. I mean, just blessed to be in this position I am. Not a lot of people can sit in these chairs and have great teammates as I got on that came on with me. So I'm just blessed to be here.
When you look at what the Jazz have on the floor and your skill set, what do you feel like you bring to this team where you can make an immediate impact?
I got great energy. I mean, I can do everything from rebounding, from defense to scoring to passing. So I could say I could bring it a lot in different ways.
18 years old, it's tough for young players to come right into the NBA. Do you think you can make an immediate impact despite your age and just 1 year of college experience?
Absolutely.
Well, what makes you so mature to be able to do that?
In the gym, late nights, all the hard work I put in, I believe in it.
What's been your first 24 hours like here in Salt Lake? And did you come right to the gym off the plane?
Yeah, for sure I did. I was excited to see what the practice facility was like. It's a great scenery. As soon as I got off the plane, I didn't think the mountains was real. I mean, it was so beautiful. It was just seeing that scenery, just being in that position, just getting off that plane, just meeting the coaches. It was just all great.
Ace, what does the rest of your summer look like? Is it summer league, and then do you anticipate staying here in Utah and working with Jazz coaches, or staying closer to home? How do you plan that out?
Definitely gonna be here for sure, putting a lot of weight room in, getting to know my coaches and my teammates. So I'll be doing probably both, just working out here most of the time.
You went viral when you said that statement.
So that was Ace Bailey this weekend. What's up, MC? Appreciate you saying that. Please give us a big thumbs up if you would not mind. A like, a retweet on X if you're watching there. I was kind of hard on what transpired up until Ace finally hiring a real agent. But I can't lie. Those mountains are beautiful. They're gorgeous. I saw them for the first time a couple months ago. But you heard a little bit of what I was talking about last week in that press conference, in a couple of his statements. I don't want to say the cockiness, but he did not interview well with teams. He better be the real deal, talent-wise. He might be the real deal, talent-wise. And I hope Utah is the right spot for him, because you've got Danny Ainge, you've got Austin Ainge to kind of show you the other side. But I said on draft night, goodbye Colin Sexton, goodbye Jordan Clarkson. Utah got a new backcourt, and they did. Jordan Clarkson got bought out. Sexton traded today for Yusuf Nurkic. So there you go. That's your update on Ace Bailey. We are still tracking right now free agency, looking around, see if there's any other updates as we go around. The salary cap is set to, let's get you to some updates. If you want to call the show, by the way, you can do so. We'll be breaking in with audio throughout with any type of breaking news. But back to just some updates on free agency. Per NBA communications, the NBA has announced that the salary cap has been set at $154,647. Oh, I said that wrong. 154.6 basically million. 154.647 mil. So that is your salary cap, right about what we expected it to be. It's a 10% growth from last season. If you look at the apron, so as a minimum salary now is 139, 182. If you are a team that goes up to 195.9, you are in the first apron for this year with the new cap. If you go to 207, $207 million, 207.8. That puts you in the second apron. It's why teams are scrambling, or were scrambling. Boston trying to decide what they're going to do because of the Tatum injury. So that is the update on the salary cap. Jalen Williams, by the way, of the Thunder, having surgery. I thought that was notable. Julius Randle, you heard this over the weekend, 3-year, $100 million contract with the Timberwolves. Jabari Smith Jr. gets a massive raise, 5-year, $122 million. It's a lot of money. Fred VanVleet, which we knew about, he renegotiated his deal. There you go. There we go. Jake LaRavia. I called it. If Dennis is right, and he is right, indeed, Jake LaRavia has re-signed with the Kings. Best move. Best possible move Jake LaRavia could have made, in my opinion. A lot of people were worried about that. We were getting stuff that's like, well, he was down in LA with AR. You can't look into that stuff. Come on. There you go. Jake LaRavia. Oh, the Lakers. No, I just had a mistake. I read it wrong. I was completely wrong. Wow. That's a big hit for the Kings. Damn. Well, maybe the thinking, let's hold on. Dennis, okay, I wasn't wrong. So who are we going to believe? Are we going to believe Dennis, or are we going to believe Shams? Dennis, you did me dirty. Jake LaRavia. Lakers. Dennis. Timeout. Wow. Well, that's why, you know what? Okay, let's put this into perspective. Let's put this into perspective. And I think it is fairly simple. Yeah, exactly. Wait, Chris Haynes is saying the Kings. So somebody's going to be wrong. Who you guys want to believe? We'll look at both sides of it. Okay, the Kings do have, let's separate note, if you want to believe him, Chris Haynes, the Kings have meetings via Zoom with Russ Westbrook and Dennis Schröder this week, per Chris Haynes. So we have conflicting reports. Chris Haynes says it's with the Kings. According to Dennis, you, my friend, better hope that is on Chris Haynes's page. That is not the Chris Haynes that I am looking for. I'm going to be checking my phone here in a second. All right. Okay, let's look at both sides of this as we get this kind of figured out. If LaRavia did indeed sign with the Lakers, then Nick Clifford, that's probably why Scott Perry took Nick. That's why he was pushing back in the press conference that he looks at Nick more at that 3 position. As I continue, I'm going through my personal stuff right now to see if I see anything. All right. I'm going to lean on you right now, chat, as we try to figure this out. Okay, I'm not putting you up anymore until we know this. Kings would pay JL $6 million per season, I'd assume. Young, affordable talent. Yeah, it's only what, $800,000 more. It's only $800,000 more. That, well, it's not like it puts the Lakers over the top. I just think Jake was gonna be fairly important to what Doug Christie wanted to do this season. He was that guy again that I said can go 1 through 5. I know the Lakers need a big man. Ayton was bought out. I'm just wondering. He's not going to be your big man. Like, where's the playing time for Jake LaRavia in LA? I mean, maybe Jake wants to play with Luka. It's going to be a major surprise to me. Haynes corrected it himself. It is to the Lakers. Thank you. Thank you, Arvin. All right. So there you go. There is your first major shoe to drop on the Kings. Sorry for the confusion. We had conflicting reports. We had Chris Haynes saying that Jake LaRavia re-signed with the Kings, and Shams reporting that he is with the Lakers. So Jake LaRavia headed to the Lakers. As I'm sitting here saying, I don't look into guys being down in LA with other Lakers. I don't, especially with Austin Reeves' time in LA, possibly in question. If LeBron's pushing this narrative to improve right now. But that's a major hit for the Kings. And that is why, again, it was so important for the Kings to get back into the first round. So what's this mean for the team? It means that right now, you're going to have to get another forward and rely on Nick Clifford. You're going to have to. And this even goes back to the Isaac Jones conversation. You're going to need a lot more Isaac Jones. Dude, Okay, I got to take you down. Okay, I guess you're not in trouble. It was conflicting. Losing LaRavia definitely stings for the Sacramento Kings. Seemed like he enjoyed his time here playing for Doug Christie. Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, it could be true. It's just a really weird move to me for LaRavia. Huh. You got me stumped. Kind of a
Kingston jaw and face.
Stupid. And you know what? Why does that always have to happen to Kings fan? I'm serious. Quick grievance.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
Y'all are like the best fans in the NBA. And when I mean like best, I mean loyal and knowledgeable. That's my opinion. Grant might feel different. But of course, Sacramento Kings fan gets that way delivered to him. Oh, he's back. No, he's gone. And he's gone to LA. He did exactly. I want to see the particulars on his contract. Because I said a 2-year deal to show your worth, or at least a 1-and-1. I mean, okay, let me ask this. Does that... Yeah, the Kings, 5.2. It's the max they could do. Man. Yeah, it's bad. Grant says you're not the best fans. I don't think you can bring back Trey Lyles. I don't. He's been hurt too much. You just can't. Won't that money take away from Bronny, though? Trey Lyles, yeah, I think you've got a full serving of Trey Lyles. It's a great question. Peter, do me a favor. I don't think, well, let me look right here. This will tell me everything I need to know. Let's go through it right now. Jake, where you at? Yep. Okay. So he almost doubles his salary. It's a great question. I actually do not have the answer for you. If the Kings could have made that offer, I think even with the limited money that you have to work with, I think that's very well spent money. Because he just, remember how he guarded Jokic? And Jake has his limitations, don't get me wrong, but sometimes players bring more than just their skills to a game. And Jake LaRavia was just one of those guys. It's actually how he got hurt. He just kind of played with that reckless abandon. Like it didn't matter if the game was slow and messy or the Kings were losing by 20. You knew he was on the floor just from his energy. I mean, he kind of had a little bit of that Malik Monk in him, in a sense. So for me, I thought that was really important, especially if you're trying to drive defense home. If that's going to be what you hang your hat on. I'm trying to, it just, the way the Lakers play, I'm having a really hard time connecting the pieces, other than what Progressive said. Jake LaRavia would have had a much better opportunity, and I'll maintain that. Much better opportunity in Sacramento to show out. He would have had, he was custom fit to a degree. as a Doug Christie style player. But you know what? Look, Kings organization, you don't know if you're going to be traded, a lot of holes to fill, don't want to be a part of a rebuild, want to be a part of something more successful. You want to play with LBJ. Well, Arvin, do you really think it's thrown away? I'm pretty confident in saying this. If you didn't have Jake last year, you didn't make the play-in. Trey Jones, off the market. Trey Jones is returning to Chicago. Interesting move. What's going on with Kobe Jones? Trey Jones, off the market. 3-year, $24 million deal. Okay, so let me ask you this. Shams also says, fully guaranteed deal for LaRavia in Los Angeles. Negotiated it tonight by agents Aaron Riley and Reggie Berry of AMR Agency. But if Trey Jones is going for 3 years, $24 million, are the Kings overpaying for a Dennis Schröder at 14.1? Can you get Damon Jones? No, Tay, what you need to do, instead of getting Damon Jones, go grab BJ Armstrong, sign him to a 10-day contract. He doesn't have to go back to the G League. He can come straight up to the Kings. That's what you do. Rhino, to be fair, if we didn't have Jake, we would have had the Mavericks number in the lottery in Cooper. Oh, come on, Daniel. Daniel, if I had the conspiracy theory music, I would hit that right now. Let's go to ESPN really quick.
And take it in. NBA free agency 2025 has begun. Brian, if you were to describe it in one word so far, what would that be?
Expensive.
Expensive, and we're only about an hour in, so I have a feeling it's going to get a little bit pricier from here. Let's start with the busiest person in the league, our senior insider, Shams Charania. Shams, as I have been walking through the studio, my phone has been vibrating with your reporting, with your updates here. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I have some news for you guys. Free agent guard D'Angelo Russell has agreed to a 2-year, $13 million deal with the Dallas Mavericks. Sources tell ESPN. Co-heads of CA basketball, Aaron Mintz, Austin Brown, reached an agreement, as well as the Mavericks officials here tonight. So this gives Dallas a stopgap at point guard. He's going to have a significant role, especially when Kyrie Irving will miss at least half of the upcoming NBA season. So D'Angelo Russell going to the Mavericks, 2 years, $13 million.
D'Angelo Russell to the Dallas Mavericks. Legs, what do you think of this?
Well, first of all, I think that's a bargain of $6.5 million a year. Really, D'Angelo Russell still can score. And
$6.5 million a year. The Kings are going to overpay. That is cheap. I'm not thrilled with it either, Rock. Dennis Schröder, to me, the inconsistency of him. I think sometimes he's a me first player instead of a team player. And if you're the quarterback running the team, I need to have a little bit more. And Schröder, here's the most important thing to me at point guard. Well, no, Arvin, Arvin, that's the thing. That's the thing. He's a bargain because he wants to play with an up-and-coming good team like the Mavericks. He's giving them that discount. Because you are in a good situation now that you have Cooper Flagg and Nico Harrison is like the happiest guy in the world because he hasn't heard Luka chants in a minute or at least a week. It's desirable. He's picking his destination. He's saying, hey, Dallas, I want to play for you. I'm willing to sign whatever it takes to make it work. Guys aren't going to do that here in Sacramento. Guys are going to gouge Sacramento. That's the concern, especially at the point guard. And I don't want to pigeonhole people, but can I ask a question honestly? Have we heard any other team have interest in Dennis Schröder? Anyone? I haven't. Malcolm Brogdon? Anyone? I haven't. Russ? Yeah, I'm sure there's some interest. Until the Kings prove otherwise, they're kind of that group of kids on the playground that you never want to play with. They've got to change that. But the number's going to sting, man. You got to use your entire, and that's kind of the conversation shifter, right? You've got to use your entire MLE, most likely, to bring in a guy that doesn't have a ton of guys or a ton of teams knocking at their door. Man. BJ, what's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Day off, and I'm lucky to get to hear you and see the chat. Welcome. What's going on, you guys? It's unbelievable. I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit on. I watched a little bit of the draft, and it seemed like some of the money that's flying around and the comparisons and how people project some of these kids to be, and they haven't even gotten their uniform yet. They haven't gotten to the court. And it kind of brings up my point that I'm a big Monk guy. I'm a big Ellis and Murray and LaRavia. I like their mentality. I think the intangibles of being able to win in a system and for basketball is way more important than jacking up threes. And that's why you kind of stole my thunder on that. You have to build this team or build a team off of defense. And it's sad that the state of the game, we think that defense and boring and being consistent.
Can I break in really quick?
Yes, please do.
We've got news. Big trade. Denver Nuggets are trading Michael Porter Jr. in an unprotected 2032 first-round pick to the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Jones. Jones finally gets traded. Go ahead, BJ.
No, that is I like Porter Jr. if he could stay on the court. It's wow. It's the LaRavia thing is kind of stings a little bit, even though it doesn't really help the Lakers like put them over the top, but it seems like they're in a disarray also. But the mentality that LaRavia has, the intangibles, I'm a big intangibles guy, and I think you can build off of that. That's why defense, like you can't measure somebody's heart. If you play hard defense and get easy points, it makes the game easier and more spacing. I'm really down on someone like Levine. I'm not really. We have him. It is what it is. But we're gonna have to somehow figure out how to incorporate him and a system that's going to be conducive to a positive team-oriented defensive manner. So we're going to have to change something. I'm not high on Schröder either. I think he's kind of nonchalant and disconnected, and he doesn't seem like much of a leader. So if we need a point guard that badly, that Brogdon guy seems pretty good. I like Westbrook's energy, but does Westbrook want to come to Sucktown? I mean, I wouldn't blame him if he doesn't want to, but I don't know, man. It's just nice to see you guys. I'm going to Vegas on the 10th and the 11th. If you got a show going on, I'll certainly call and try to. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these kids play. I'm hoping to see Flag, of course. I'm sure everyone's going to try to get in that gym to see him.
Let me hop in really quick, Kev.
Go ahead.
The Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr. is being sent to the Brooklyn Nets along with an unprotected 2032 first-round pick for Cam Johnson. Wow. So Nikola Jokic at the wing will now have Cam Johnson, who got a ton of interest this past season.
Wow. That's
the Nets
a pretty
had
good trade.
multiple offers for first-round pick for Cam Johnson. They trade him to the Nuggets. now, and Michael Porter Jr. now goes back to Brooklyn with an unprotected first-round pick. This is a
And by the way, Michael Porter Jr. was one of those guys that was being thrown around with Sacramento for DeMar DeRozan. So he's on his way to Brooklyn, and Cam Jones lands in Brooklyn. Go ahead. I know you're going to be in Summer League 10th and 11th in Vegas, right?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I like that Cam Johnson. I thought he was pretty. That's going to help Denver a lot, I think. Yeah, I'm going to be in Vegas just for a couple days. I want to see some of these kids, and I really want to see the Kings first and second year players and see how they approach the game. Just see how they play. I know it's early and it doesn't really mean much, but I went there when what was his name? Not Kuminga, but one of the Ball brothers that year, and he got drafted with the Lakers, and the kid that got drafted with him actually outplayed him. He was really good. In fact, he's in the free agent talkings that the Kings may pick him up from Washington. I forgot his name.
Are you talking about Tyus Jones from Phoenix? He was in Washington?
He used to play for maybe he got traded to Milwaukee. He got drafted by the Lakers the same year that Ball got drafted, and everybody was all high on Ball, and this kid came in and outplayed everybody. But since then, he's kind of changed. His name is escaping me right now.
Lonzo Ball went to Cleveland.
Yeah, that year with Lonzo Ball, the Lakers also drafted another kid in the second. I don't know if it was the first round or second round. He's making pretty good money now, and the Kings are thinking about getting him. I don't know if he's that's another thing right now. Speak to about if we just get a bunch of ball stopping type of isolation people, how is it that we're going to move the ball around to get any type of shots off when we need them? So like if we get a Schroeder or however you pronounce his name, doesn't he seem like he's as a point guard is more of a Kuzma? Thank you, Derek. That's him, Kuzma. I saw him in Vegas, and he was incredible. I don't know. He changed a lot. I don't know if he got injured or what, he's more of a character now than before. But watching him was incredible. Kyle Kuzma. Yep. I also went the year that Jimmer Fredette was there, and I knew immediately. I talked to Jimmer Fredette and his wife, and he went out there, and he was right immediately within the first 15 minutes he was exposed. I was just like, oh boy, it's going to be it's not going to be fun for him. So this year, looking forward to going there, and I picked up some cards. Also, you can cut in anytime, my man. If you want.
You know what? Can we do cards another day? Just
let's do cards instead of wrestling.
All right, we'll set in a card segment for sure. We'll get that going. All right.
Right on, man. Take care, guys.
All right, thanks, Beach. All right, so a lot of disappointment right now within the chat. Ty Jerome, as somebody said, is off the board. Here's my question. Memphis now picks up Ty Jerome, gets a significant raise. Ty Jerome was on my short list of guys I would like to see in Sacramento. I'm beginning to think more and more that the Kings, to get the desirable point guard, and let's reset expectations. If we're disappointed that Jake LaRavia left, that's fair. I'm disappointed for all of you. I don't know you're going to find a better piece at that position for the style that Doug Christie wants to play at that price. I understand the disappointment about Jake LaRavia. But seeing all these other pieces fall should not be a surprise. In fact, it would be the opposite. It would be surprising if I saw Ty Jerome signing with the Kings. Okay? So the Kings were not exactly projected to be major players in free agency, and it just started, by the way. Just started. We are an hour and 15 minutes into it. But the more I think about it, if you're going to get that point guard, it's not going to be on the free agent market. It's not. The best you're going to get on the free agent market is going to be what the rest of the NBA considers a backup. And like we've seen with the numbers, you're overpaying. Now, you can't compare it to the D'Lo trade because that is a situational thing. I'm taking less to be here. It's going to be through a trade. Now, I bring up Ty Jerome for this reason as well. What about Ja Morant? I'm not saying the Kings are in the Ja Morant market. I'm not saying that the Grizzlies would even consider a Ja Morant trade. But as a Kings fan, you better start thinking outside the box. And you better start looking at situations where teams are kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Because of this new CBA, where it is going to be a year-to-year thing. Where teams are going to decide year to year to start dropping pieces and bringing pieces on. If it doesn't work, they're going to go a different way. I am surprised by the amount of money that's being thrown around. A lot more than last year. So if you're the Kings and you need that point guard, it's probably going to come through trade, and we're probably going to have to be patient. Probably going to have to be patient, but I am curious. You now have Ty Jerome there. He was a backup. He played some starter too in Cleveland. Could you go nab a guy like that in Ja Morant? They need a shooting guard. They're out Desmond Bane. It's going to have to be something like that. It's going to have to be something where there is risk on both sides. I mean, okay, let me throw this out there. It wouldn't have taken much to get CJ McCollum. Guys like that would have been serviceable. CJ is an all-Kings killer. First team. Bruce Brown Jr. has agreed to a 1-year deal with Denver. 2023 NBA champion for the Nuggets returns to Denver. CAA's Ty Sullivan and Steven Hudman finalized the deal tonight with the Nuggets. We've got another one. Free agent guard Kevin Porter Jr. has agreed to a 2-year, $11 million deal to return to the Bucks. Player option in 26-27. So yeah, we're starting to get a lot more going. And remember, these deals cannot actually be finalized until July 6th. July 6th is the date on those. So as of today, let's bring it back in, summarize where we are at. The Kings picked up Keon Ellis's option, which we talked about earlier in the show. Isaac Jones, the Kings also picked up that option. Jake LaRavia has signed with the Lakers. Again, I want to re-emphasize expectations, because the Kings last year, to think this bench was going to make a massive jump in 1 year, it wasn't going to happen. You had 3 players on the roster that weren't in the NBA to begin the season, and you have less money to play with. Theoretically, we have a little bit more because the cap went up this season. So how are you going to turn that? It's going to be through trade. This is going to be a process. If you get 1 or 2 better pieces, and you kept some of the pieces like a Jake LaRavia, maybe you're feeling a little bit better. But this was never going to be something that the Kings were all of a sudden going to be right back in the swing of things with a massively strong bench because of free agency. And free agency is just getting started. We literally have an hour and 20 minutes into it. What did we go? I think it was the 4th or 5th day. We got all the way to the weekend until DeMar DeRozan happened. So Jake LaRavia, disappointing. And to, again, like, I don't, my apology isn't going to make it better. It's not. But to have the, oh, he's back with Sacramento, and then the, no, he's not. He's with the Lakers. That only happens in Kingsland. Sucks. Sorry. Y'all don't deserve that. Looney is on the move. Allegedly. Per Shams. Let's check. We already got that one. There you go. How about that? $16 million deal, 2-year. So prices are dropping. Prices are dropping. These are the quote unquote role players. This is the depth that you see with Indiana. I'm not going to say OKC. They have the depth too. They just have it a different way. They drafted it and developed it. So Kevon Looney off the board as well. Kings lose Jake LaRavia. That is definitely a little bit of a shot. Beam or what's up, Athena? Your tone is so hard, Ryan. Lighten up. It's summer, yo. I know. Am I going too much Grant on you? A little less Grant, a little bit more optimistic Rhino. I can do that. The LaRavia thing just is. Dennis Schröder will become the 24th player in NBA history to have played with at least 10 different teams after signing with the Sacramento Kings. Well, assuming he signs with the Sacramento Kings, Dennis. My concern with Schröder is mindset. Schröder has signed with the Kings. Fred Katz. Kings. Dennis Schröder will agree to sign with the Sacramento Kings. League sources tell The Athletic. All right. Schröder is your point guard. Let's see what the numbers are reported at. But Schröder is your point guard. Okay. Dennis Schröder to the Kings. So you have Schröder reportedly per The Athletic, and you lose LaRavia. Reaction. What are you thinking? You want to call the show? Hit me up right now. We can talk about it. Agree? Well, Paul, again, I don't know the limitations on what the Kings could and could not do with Jake LaRavia. I don't know exactly what they were. They had the bird rights at 5.2. So could they have come up 800,000? Sure, but I seem to think, Paul, honestly, it seems like a little bit more than the money with Jake. I think the location is important. All right, let's go back to the phones. We'll keep taking your calls and taking your questions as we track free agency. If you call, I might jump on you because I'm going to go to some audio, but let's bring Dennis in. What's up, Dennis?
Yo, we got him. We got Dennis. What can I say? He's a menace. What can I say? I like it. I just wish we could get Westbrook with him, to get some, stability behind him to really explore that point guard position, even if it is just short term. But losing Jake, that sucked. Dang. I really like Jake.
Yeah, that was a blow. It was one of the probably, it was like, to me, the most underrated, most important move was to get him back, to kind of bolster and be able to defend with that bench unit, even step in if a guy gets hurt defensively. So yeah, it is rough, but he was not exactly shown the best side of Sacramento with his time here. He did get playing time, but between everything that went on, the coaching, well, wasn't here for the coaching change, but the management of the team. Remember the last night when the Kings were bounced from the playoffs, and how a new GM was already in place, and Monty wasn't even let go yet, and Doug was named the coach, but they didn't do it till a week later, yada, yada, yada. So makes sense from LA, wants to go back to LA. Stinks if you're a Kings fan.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's not a guy you're going to replace at $5.2 million. It's the best way to put it.
I mean, like I said, hopefully this
out in Golden State, we're monitoring Jonathan Kuminga, we're monitoring Al
let
Horford.
me hop
But
on here.
meanwhile, the Denver Nuggets are busy. Brian, you said they've already used up that money. Well, Bruce Brown, he's back.
All right, we already hit that one. Go ahead, Dennis.
No worries. No, like I was saying, hopefully Clifford can fill that void for us. Like he can score, he can rebound. So I'm like, he does, like we talked to Grant about this. He does a lot of good, he does a lot of good things. I mean, nothing elite, but he does everything. So hopefully he can transition that into our offense. And but yeah, it sucks losing Jake.
Does indeed. Luke Cornett, not a surprise. Not a surprise that he is returning. Oh, no, he is going to the San Antonio Spurs. That is big news. That is one I did not expect. Luke Cornett, free agent center, has signed a 4-year, $41 million deal with San Antonio. Wow. That is a big move. He took a lot less money to stay with the Celtics last year. And he was a big part of what they did down the stretch. Everything that I had heard was he was going to be coming back, but if he was going to get paid based off of what he did, and the Celtics certainly can't do it right now, makes all the sense in the world that he goes to San Antonio. That's a big pickup for San Antonio. Wow. How about that? Thoughts?
I still think it goes through Houston right now.
Oh, I disagree, but I appreciate you. Have a good one, brother. Good stuff from Dennis. I do not think the road goes through Houston. Wow, that is a big move. Okay, one name that we haven't heard yet is De'Aaron Fox. Interesting. Very interesting. Is that going to be the next shoe to drop? It's a really good move. It's the contrasting styles that you need with Wemby. Great move by San Antonio. They're pulling all the right strings right now. Very good move by them. Here's the other thing that we haven't really. Let's look on the other side of things with Jake LaRavia. And I was trying to kind of get to this. Dennis brought the thought back to me. Was, yeah, you get Nick Clifford. You don't know how Scott Perry is evaluating these players. Remember, this isn't Monty McNair. This isn't Wes Wilcox. This is Scott Perry. Scott Perry might not think LaRavia works with what they want to do. Now, I do think the 5 categories that Scott Perry talks about and what they want in a player, I think he hits most of those. But maybe Scott thought it was better to get somebody younger. Maybe he sees something more in Nick Clifford. It does make a little bit, it turns up the pressure on Nick Clifford, no doubt. But you do get Dennis Schröder, as reported by The Athletic. All of the reports leading up to having this one that the Kings are signing Dennis Schröder were really that it was going to be around that $14.1 million MLE. I can't sit here and lie to you and say in good faith that that's a good deal. You look at the market, and I'm not considering whatsoever. None. The D'Lo deal. Not a consideration. But let's put it this way. You're basically paying what Davion Mitchell is making for Dennis Schröder. Who would you rather have? Davion Mitchell back or Dennis Schröder? Schröder might turn out fine. My concerns, he had some really weird comments last year, some very off-putting comments after the Luka trade. I'm not going to go reset them right here because it's not the time. But go look those up. Go look those up on your own. When I see somebody that makes comments like that, it worries me. Like, are you all together upstairs? Here we go. Arvin, because he was correct before. Clint Capella, the latest to come off the board. Free agent Clint Capella has agreed to a 3-year, $21.5 million deal to stay with Houston. So it looks like he's taking less money because I think he's worth a little bit more than 7.125, right around there per year. I think he's a little bit worth more than that. Yeah, well, I can't imagine that it's for anything other than the MLE. I can't. Shooter all day. The man is European, and Europeans win in the NBA. The man is also old, and now on his 10th team. James, what's up, man? Ryan, not hating here, but Kings are a losing franchise, or a loser of a franchise. Top of my head since the move to Sacktown. They haven't had 10 years of 500 ball or over, and they've been here for 38 years and counting. Oh, man. Kicking everybody while kicking. That's kind of a cheap shot, man. Like, the referee got thrown out of the ring, and you acted like you were going to shake hands, and you just dropped down and just brought that one arm up like, oh, right in the Kanikis to the Kings fans.
Right in the mummy daddy button.
Oh, man. Clint Capella does not change anything about Houston to me. You know what, Dennis? It wasn't you. It was Jay last year. Right around this time, Paul George to Philly. Jay comes in. That's the move. Takes him over the top. Until Kevin Durant can show me that he can stay on the court, which he couldn't do in Phoenix, how are you going to put them there? You can't. Arvin, on top of it, Arvin earning some major street cred right now in the Kings court. Good job, Arvin.
Order in the court.
Free agent guard, Chris LeVert. So 2-year, $29 million, so 14.5. Detroit. How about this story really quick? We'll get back to free agency in a second. How about this story out of Detroit? Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Arvin just brought it up. Malik Beasley is being investigated by the government. Yeah, not local, not state, by the federal government for gambling. U.S. District Attorney's Office is looking into the 23-24 season when Beasley played for the Milwaukee Bucks. He averaged 11.3 points over 79 games. Reports indicate that at least one prominent sportsbook, U.S. sportsbook, detected unusually heavy betting interest on Beasley's statistics, particularly around January 2024. For example, in a January 31st, 2024 game between the Bucks and the Portland Trailblazers, odds were that Beasley, or the odds on Beasley recording under 2.5 rebounds, shifted significantly from plus 120 to plus 250 due to heavy betting action, though he recorded 6 rebounds that night. Investigations are not charges, but this is right along the same lines of Jonte Murray. Or Jonte Porter or Jonte Murray? I'm trying Porter. Jonte Porter. How stupid. How stupid. Sign Beasley. Oh my gosh. How stupid do you have to be? Don't even get me into stupid to be betting on your sport or breaking the gambling rules in general. But especially stupid to be doing it in that manner where you're doing it on statistics, odd statistics that nobody's going to put enough money on to move the line, double the line. It's just basically, dude, like next time, like this is the equivalent. If you have a son that's in middle school or a daughter that's in high school, it's literally writing notes on your hand and walking into class for a test. That's how blatant these things are. And don't think the sports books aren't going to call these clowns out and point it out. Again, it's an investigation. It is not a charge. But what do you do with them right now? What do you do with them right now? All right, back to free agency. Unbelievable. Do we have anything new from Shams? Nothing new, since Chris Levert will keep you posted. Let's get to some of your comments. The NBA act like they don't rig games. Come on now. You think the NBA rigs games?
You just made the list!
You think they got a list of games they're going to rig? I don't know about that. There is a mission of guilt there when you see players blow right past him. I don't know what you're talking about. The problem is I'm not trying to go to all these Dennis things, but every other comment, it's Dennis. I'm trying to get some other people in here. Get the feeling the longer it takes to trade DeRozan, the more the Kings will have to compromise. Not necessarily, Paul. Not necessarily. The Kings are not the only team at the moment that feel like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Like, I don't know what we're going to do. There's other teams. Milwaukee, for instance, you don't have an answer from Giannis. Seems like Giannis wants to stay in Milwaukee. I'm not saying that Milwaukee has anything to offer the Kings, but they haven't made any big moves. I know that we just announced one of their signings. Los Angeles. Could you theoretically get something done that includes DeMar DeRozan to LA and Austin Reeves? What I'm saying is there's other teams out there that are going to feel squeezed. Yes. You're seeing players sign left and right. The big shock today, I shouldn't say shock. It was definitely a surprise, is Jake LaRavia leaving. because I think that unless Scott Perry is betting heavily on the combination of Isaac Jones and Nick Clifford, like he thinks that, that spot can be backfilled between the two of them. I just think because of the resources that was a piece that needed to go the Kings' way. I think that's a difficult thing to replace, and we might be singing a completely different tune come the All-Star break. But I think there is still time where other teams. I think the Kings will compromise regardless. Why wouldn't you try to make the Kings compromise? I sure as heck would. They're the only team that took Zach LaVine, even though the Lakers were offering, or excuse me, not the Lakers, the Bulls were offering first-round picks in the summer to get rid of him, but yet he became more desirable. San Antonio squeezed the Kings. The Kings were talking to one team. That's because Rich Paul said that needed to be the team. There was no rush to get Fox out. If he became a distraction, you sit him down and get him his surgery. So I think regardless any deal, the Kings don't have the upper hand probably. Maybe that changes because you have a new GM. Maybe. Just maybe. But there's a lot of time left in free agency. I still think DeMar DeRozan will likely get traded. The question becomes, is it to get a point guard? Well, I guess maybe I'm answering my own questions. We don't know. Arvin, I really don't. I don't think there's a ton of teams out there. If you joined us earlier, Brian, or if you were with us earlier, we talked about it. I thought Frank Isola put it really well because LeBron has a no trade clause already. Not many teams that would want to take him on, but this is the notable thing about this is he's never in his NBA career gone into a season without having an option on the next season. So theoretically, he will be a free agent. He will be a free agent next season unless there's a extension, a trade and extension, etc. But here's what Frank Isola had to say.
The whole thing is just I tend to think it's more of LeBron just wanting to put some pressure on the Lakers to try to get something done. Because when you start looking at teams where you think that he could realistically go to, where they would make a trade and he would sign off. Do I think Golden State would be one? I have no idea if they could do it. I think Cleveland would be one. I think the Knicks would be one. I think Houston, Dallas, and maybe Miami. Those teams where I could realistically see, like, if there was some way a trade could be worked out and he would sign off on it. Because remember, that also is part of it. But listen, some of those teams would have no interest in doing something like that. And he would probably have no interest in going to maybe some of those places.
So that's what Frank Isola had to say this morning. I agree with him. He's just trying to put some pressure on the Lakers. Back to what I was saying about the Kings in the point guard position. I think we answered our own question. And if you want, you can pose this to Grant tonight. He's going to be on at 8:00, open forum. Make sure you join him for that show. Be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot to talk about. You'll get some different perspectives than you're hearing now. But presuming the Kings signed Dennis Schröder with the MLE, which is $14.1 million, that's got to be your starting point guard. You're not wasting the MLE for a backup point guard at $14.1 million. We don't know the details of the Schröder deal. I have not seen any details. I will double check my email. I will double check my text messages. But all of the reporting coming into this with Dennis Schröder was it surrounded the MLE. That was what was making its way around the media. So if that's the case, if you're trading DeMar DeRozan, you're not probably looking at the point guard position. I would be very surprised if you're looking at the point guard position. So again, all eyes on Devin Carter. Did his handles get better over the summer? Can he play point guard for the Kings in a backup role? You know, Malik is going to have some of those duties as well. Are they going to start Malik and Keon again and Schröder off the bench? But I think it's got to be the Kings thinking, in my opinion, that Schröder is your starting point guard. I just don't think you can look at it any other way if it's at the $14.1 million number, which is the mid-level exception. If you disagree, let me know. I'm all ears. You know, I wonder if this guy is available. Could you go get him?
So the Portland Trailblazers select Colin Cowherd here.
Colin Cowherd's starting to feel pretty good at this point. No, I'm just kidding. I'm trying to bring you some levity. Haven't even done grievances yet. If you're just tuning in, welcome into the King's Court. We are tracking free agency live as it happens. There's been a number of significant moves. Michael Porter Jr. headed to Brooklyn. Cam Johnson headed to Denver. I think that's a big one. The Spurs, really nice pickup in my opinion, from Boston. Thought that was good. We'll go over some more of those here in a second. But the ones that are most notable to us here in Sacramento are that Jake LaRavia is headed to Los Angeles. He has signed a 2-year deal for $12 million. And it was, if you tune in earlier to the show, there were conflicting reports. Chris Haynes had it to the Kings that Jake re-signed, and Shams had it to the Lakers. Haynes eventually corrected his mistake. So Jake LaRavia is now headed to Los Angeles to play with LeBron and Luka. Dennis Schröder reportedly headed to Sacramento to be the point guard for your Kings, as we know now. The move I was talking about, Luke Cornett, that's a big move for the Spurs. Like that a lot. A lot of other notable names have been on the move as well today. But the Kings dealt a blow, at least from the perspective of the fan base. Losing Jake LaRavia. We don't know the perspective of Scott Perry. And I've been very high on Scott Perry since the draft, very complimentary of what he has done, or at least what he did with that draft. Maybe moving into the first round, getting Nick Clifford had to do with that. Maybe he thought Jake LaRavia didn't fit with his vision for this team, but I think it would be really hard to make an argument that Doug Christie and Scott Perry would agree that Jake LaRavia didn't fit with what Doug Christie likes to do. I think that might be that one place where you could say, yeah, if those two are on the same page, they're probably not. They're probably maybe trying to offer that 800,000 difference, but it very likely could have been for many other reasons than money. So let's kind of keep it at that. Also, we talked about the Kings picking up the option on Keon Ellis this weekend. So he will be returning to Sacramento. Isaac Jones also option picked up. I thought Carmichael Dave nailed it. I agree with him. I don't think this would have been the right time to extend Keon with the team completely in flux having him, continuing to get some more seasoning, certainly some more playing time, will only help the team and help his value on the market if you decide to go a different direction. Looks like we have a Brook Lopez signing, according to the chat. We'll see if Shams confirms that. Indeed, there is. Brook Lopez to the Clippers. That's a big move for the Clippers. That is a very big move for the Clippers. 2 years, $18 million. Yeah, Wild Bill. What's up, Wild Bill? Agrees. FIBA World Cup MVP, Dennis Schröder. Wow, good for him. 10th NBA team. Not getting down on the guy, but, well, I'm not super high on him. Let's be fair. I have not been high on him. The Kings are significantly overpaying, which isn't a surprise. But at that position, that is a significant overpayment. It tells you the pool that the Kings likely had to choose from. What's weird, and you never know with the reporting, you also have the reporting that the Kings were to meet with Brogdon and Westbrook. Well, at least Schröder and Westbrook, maybe with Brogdon, but definitely Schröder and Westbrook via Zoom. What happened with Russell Westbrook? And again, the Kings can be interested in all the players they want. What matters is that player interested in you? So that might be the case with Russell Westbrook, but man, that's a blow. That is a blow. What does Doug like to do? Clap. Fair. Beavis. That's fair. He does like to clap. He does like to sniff essential oils. He likes to motivate. Doug likes effort. Doug likes just that type of player that'll throw it all on the line. And Jake was probably closer to that category. That reckless abandon, that defense, the diving on the floor. Doug wants effort. He wants a team that's going to give you effort night in and night out. That doesn't back down. That stands up to the challenges. That's what Doug does. Doug does defense really well. Offense, work in progress. Yeah. And it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. I wish you could just give him the money. He's a great guy. Kings should just do DeMar for John Collins. Collins, I believe, did he re-sign? Collins went somewhere. Somebody put it in the chat. Something happened with Collins already. I think it happened this weekend. Let me look my show notes really quick. So I remember throwing John Collins in there. Where you at, John? All right. Not an important detail. I'll get to it here in a few minutes. Something happened with John Collins. I remember seeing his name. Jonathan Kuminga, what's going to happen with him? That's still a question. John Collins, Dallas. Collins details, excuse me. He exercised his option. That's what it was. So he's still in Utah. $26.5 million. You could find a way to make that work. It's a lot of money, though. And it's for a season because it was an option. You would have to trade DeMar DeRozan, and who's going to make up the difference in the money? You know? Yeah, well, here's the thing. This is just my opinion. I don't believe you can trade anybody until you've made that DeMar decision. There's too many questions at the point guard position, and signing Dennis Schröder does not exactly clear things up for me. Because this team is so low on creators. And I don't know that I call Dennis Schröder a creator. I think of him more as a score first point guard. I mean, how do you all see Dennis Schröder? Is he a playmaker as much as he is a point guard? Is he a good pick and roll guy? I'm just looking at his stats right now. It's tough to say. 75 games last year. I'm looking at assists. 5.4. Career 4.9. Okay. A little bit better. I mean, it's just a lot of money. A lot of money for Schröder. If we were sitting here talking about Westbrook, I'd be okay with it. I would be okay with it. I feel like I'm getting a more proven commodity. I feel like I'm getting a guy who still last year with Denver really showed some true explosiveness, remains in his legs. Now, he's not Russ from OKC, but he can still play the game. And I like the mindset of Russ. I think that fits in line with what the Kings are trying to push. Why has Dennis been on so many teams? It's a great question, Carf. It's a great question. You could say the question answers itself because he's been on so many teams. I go back to this. I'm sorry if I'm being short-sighted here. I just really had a hard time getting past Dennis Schröder's comments after Luka Doncic was traded, where he compared NBA players to slaves. I was never a big fan of his game because I felt it was very up and down. I felt like when it was good, and when it was bad, it was bad. When he was in Golden State, he shot under 30% during his time here. And he's not that guy that's like, okay, I'm going to defer. I'm going to get everybody else going. No. I'm going to keep shooting. I'll get this. And I kind of respect that to a degree. You have to have that perspective as a basketball player from time to time. But that really just kind of, I did not like that. I would agree. See, and maybe I'm seeing it wrong. I'll dive into his game more. I've never really had the desire to do so. Now I will. Rhino, it's me, Flores. Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. I did not know that. Okay. I didn't know that we met Flores. Nice. Sweet. Peter, who is basically the Kings Court consultant for front office, CBA, and contracts, says the Kings leave until 7/1/2026 or tomorrow to extend Keegan Murray. If not extended, he will be a restricted. You got to let him go restricted at this point. I think Scott Perry has made it clear. I think that was the big reason Scott Perry keeps saying, I have not seen these players play. I think that's the reason you've heard so much of that with him, because of the Keegan Murray extension. I think you got to let him go into a restricted free agency. And if it's not working out, you can trade him. I don't like that. I don't. But if the Kings truly need to rebuild, and I feel like he should be one of the central pieces around that, then you trade him. He likes it here in Sacktown, though. I will say that. Russ vetoed the Kings. Why would he come here? Makes no sense for him. Yeah, that's what exactly. Exactly right. If we're going to summarize the first 2 hours of free agency, which is where we're at, I know what John Fitz
Don't make no sense.
It's this, the Jake LaRavia thing. That was something. Losing Jake LaRavia, while it's not going to change the Kings' outcome, while it's not going to cost them the season, the Kings don't need to pick up the pieces and figure out how to rebuild because you lose LaRavia. It's none of those things. This team is already at or near the bottom of the Western Conference in terms of worst situations. Utah and Phoenix may have played themselves to the same level, if not a little bit above the Kings with what they've already done. All that in mind, it was just one of the moves that you needed to break your way as a Kings fan. Because of the financials, I think a lot of Kings fans are high on Jake LaRavia. It's a short sample size. The Grizzlies GM in his exit interview said, man, I wish we would have still had LaRavia on the roster after Jalen Wells went down. So it's kind of that kick in the stomach that he goes to the Lakers. And then on top of that, you get two different reports, conflicting reports. He's back with the Kings. No, he's with the Lakers. Going back to Shams really quick.
Today, free agency special out of Milwaukee as we welcome back in our senior insider, Shams Charania. Shams, you reported that it's really an end of an era for the Milwaukee Bucks in terms of Brook Lopez departing. What more can you tell us about this deal?
Malika, 2 years, $18 million for Brook Lopez with the Los Angeles Clippers. So he's exiting Milwaukee after 7 years there. This gives the Clippers a big man that can back up Ivica Zubac, can play next to Ivica Zubac with his abilities to spread the floor. Brook Lopez was someone that was also in play with the Lakers here tonight, but he ends up deciding to sign with the Clippers. But again, 7 years in Milwaukee, was part of that 2021 championship team. And so Giannis Antetokounmpo still with the Bucks. Of course, Bobby Portis still with the Bucks as well from that championship roster. But Brook Lopez, who's been a staple there, he is now departing.
We play that video of Giannis, and then I say it's the end of an era. I'm sure there were a lot of viewers that turned around and said, wait, what's going on there? Because this does all end up coming back to Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shams. You've reported in the past that he's going to monitor the way that this offseason looks for the Milwaukee Bucks. We are a long ways to go. It's just getting started. But what do these moves potentially mean for him?
Bobby Portis re-signing was a big step for the Milwaukee Bucks and for Giannis Antetokounmpo. That is one player that he definitely wanted to see back with him potentially. But listen, he's monitoring all the moves that they're making, not only at the draft week, now we're in free agency week. So they have brought back Bobby Portis. Kevin Porter Jr. tonight, I'm told, reached agreement on a 2-year, $11 million deal to return to the Bucks. They still have their own free agent in Gary Trent Jr. We'll see what happens with him. So it's still wait and see. I reported it during draft lottery week, draft combine week. The Giannis Antetokounmpo.
So Giannis, what's really, I guess not surprising, not that interesting, but he's kind of playing GM right now. He signed off on the Chris Middleton trade. So they are giving him run of the house to try to fix this thing and still could possibly lose him to another team. So we'll see. That would be great news if it's a sign and trade with Detroit. That would be great news. I would love to see that reporting. That puts things in a little bit of a different perspective if you're the Kings. I just, again, have a hard time swallowing him at 14.1, the MLE. Basically, it is the MLE. I have a really hard time swallowing Dennis Schröder at that number. That's a tough number. Looking at what the market's bearing, look at it, how early it is in free agency. And maybe these are all the questions. These are the good questions to ask as we wait for the details to come out, because guys can't sign until the 6th. Why would you jump on Dennis Schröder so early with the MLE? I don't think the demand's there. So if it is a sign and trade at a lower number and he's going to be a backup point guard, then I'm feeling better about it. It doesn't change the pressure on Devin Carter. Definitely does not. And now the pressure, to a degree, is ratcheted up on Nick Clifford. There's no doubt about that, losing Jake LaRavia. So that's kind of where the Kings stand. We will continue monitoring free agency. We'll keep this thing rolling. Grant's going to be on at 8 o'clock. Make sure you join him for that show. We might have some additional information at that point. Again, start a free agency. It's only 2 hours and 5 minutes in. So a lot still to be done. The DeMar DeRozan deal last year did not happen until the weekend. We went into the weekend. So plenty of time for the Kings still to make some moves, but keep your expectations realistic. That's for sure. To wrap up the show, gonna do a couple, and I'm not going to be long-winded on these because our eyes are definitely elsewhere, and that's with free agency. But it is Monday, which means we do grievances. I will streamline
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
I can't believe I'm talking about soccer, but it's because it's that time of the year. I was watching the Gold Cup last night between USA and Costa Rica. While the USA won on the scoreboard, everybody won. It wasn't because it went to penalties. It wasn't because it was an exciting match. It wasn't because the USA's goaltender was incredible during penalties. It was because Costa Rica's coach did not have a heart attack on the sidelines. He won. We all won. If you saw him last night during the game, and you saw how tight that tie was around his neck, it looked like a Hulk Hogan 24-inch python squeezing the life out of his opponent's face. I thought dude was going to fall over on the sidelines. If you watched it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So my grievance is that we don't have a further grievance about him, man. That was scary to watch. I'm like, is that guy healthy? Like, is he okay? I was certainly worried about it. Secondly, the DMV. I'm going to pose just a quick question to you. Is there many differences between the DMV and jail? Luka Garza with Boston, allegedly. Is there any difference between the DMV and jail when you actually have to be at the DMV, when it's not something you can do online? I don't think there is. I only think the difference between the DMV and jail is they don't feed you at the DMV when you actually have to be there. When you know there is nothing else you can do but sit there and wait it out all day. I felt like that today.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
Last one, and then we're going to get out. Last grievance. You knew LeBron was going to do what he's going to do. We talked about it at the show, or we talked about it at the top of the show earlier. He wants attention. He wants to publicly put some pressure on the Lakers, but I can live with it. It's expected. It's nothing new. What I have a hard time living with is the fact that it brings out LeBron fan that you never hear from throughout the year on Sports Talk Radio, LeBron fan on social media that wants to debate where LeBron's at, why he's worth his money. They are the weirdest types of fans ever. Like, they are weird. They call up to talk about things that aren't even relevant to what just happened with LeBron. So LeBron, do us a favor, please keep your fans in the shadows, my man. Send that letter out to Rob Pelinka himself. Do not put that public, man. A LeBron fan, and you all know, if you're a basketball fan, you all know somebody that's that LeBron fan. Even if you're a Kings fan, you probably have a friend that's a Lakers fan, or because these LeBron fans, they're not fans of one team. They are just fans of LeBron. So anyways, had to get that out of the way. That is massive Arvin. We will wrap up there. So there are my grievances. Usually they are a little bit longer. Needed to condense those because there's much more important things going on. So the Timberwolves, not unexpected that this was going to happen. They're looking to lean on some younger players that they feel fairly high on, that they drafted high last year, traded up for, actually. So that's a loss, though. Definitely a loss. He fills the holes for them. Definitely feels the holes for Minnesota. Who is anybody surprised that Minnesota is basically running it back? It does surprise me a little bit. I wasn't sure that they were going to do the whole thing with Edwards and Randall again. It just didn't seem like, I know they got to the Western Conference Finals and it's 2 years in a row. It just wasn't fluid. It was clunky. It worked, but will it continue working? We'll see. So never jump team to team for players. Yeah. See, but LeBron fan, they do. It's really weird. Patrick, same as Kobe and MJ fan back in the day. Like they get off on really weird things. Like I heard a LeBron fan get off on, he went from the LeBron situation and how LeBron should have the power at this point to basically do anything. He went from that to complaining about the NBA Finals because it was a digital Larry O trophy on the floor and not an actual emblem that was put on the floor. Like that's the kind of like off-track stuff LeBron fan does. Like it just like, it's like needles on a chalkboard. We hit that. DMV also doesn't do strip searches. Oh, am I going to the wrong DMV? My bad. Let me know which DMV that is, Icebox. That's the new look, Rhino. The flush look with the light ties. Dude, he definitely, he looked like he was about to tap out. You know, the referee gives you one arm, it hits the mat, and then you get to the second arm, and it like almost hits the mat. I was so worried watching him while watching the game. I was worried about him. Giants fan after 6 years of Farhan waiting until the last minute and losing out on players. I'm very glad they got it done early. There you go. There you go, Jim. Yep, Giants are happy about that. Mike Brown, yeah, he is getting a second interview. So, all right, that's going to wrap us up. Let's just stop there. The big stuff again, Jake LaRavia. Gone to the Lakers. Dennis Schröder on his way to Sac Town. Reportedly, is it going to be a sign and trade with Detroit? That's what we're looking to see. That'll make me feel better about the deal if it is a sign and trade with Detroit. Again, Grant, 8:00 tonight. Don't forget tomorrow, favorite day of the week around here on King's Court, Jerry Reynolds joins us. So we will have a ton to talk about with Jerry in terms of the different moves that have been made up until 5:13 today and the moves that will be made after we are off the air. Take your questions as well tomorrow. Jerry joins us for the entirety of the 4 p.m. hour. So make sure that you come join us here on the King's Court. If you have not subscribed already, we'd love to have you as part of the team. You can scan the QR code to subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on X, we appreciate all of you as well. Give us a big thumbs up. It'd be greatly appreciated. And a big thanks again to Bennett's. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Check them out. Rockland, Roseville, Howe, and Fair Oaks. Prime cuts of seafood and steak. Specials running nearly every day. Incredible stuff. Not too late to get there for happy hour. 2 to 6 o'clock every day. Again, Bennett'sRestaurants.com is where you can check out all the menus. You can make reservations, buy gift cards, and much more. We are out. Join Grant tonight, 8:00. Thanks for being here. 1,048 of you through all of our different platforms have checked in at some point. So thank you for that. Disappointing that you lose Jake LaRavia to the Lakers. The split reporting did not make it much better. Dennis Schröder apparently headed to the Kings and a lot of other moves that have somewhat changed the NBA. Grant will be on 8:00 to talk about those and more. Go Kings, light the beam. Courts dismissed on this free agency Monday.
Order in the court.